I also had a wonderful teacher who coached me in basketball, John Bearcroft. And John came to us from Barrie, and he was an excellent teacher and a great coach. We learned a lot from John, and we did very well in high school basketball under John or Paul Quilty, Mike Jacari, Doug Swaya. Marty Bester was our coach in grade 9. And the funny part about that is he would sit at one end, and Bob Swales from Swales Menswear, he was at the other end. He was the manager. And they would keep track of every layup we made during warm-ups and every foul shot we took. And from those results, that's how they picked the team. Nothing else counted back then. Yeah. I was a gym rat, to be honest. I was at the YMCA. Every day it was open and I didn't have something on, I would go to the YMCA. And I could get on the floor and shoot basketballs by myself if there was nobody around. I could play table tennis down there. My mother said one time if they could find me a bed, she'd send my meals down because I was there so much. Through the YMCA, I joined the Leaders Corps and was part of that for all of my younger days. Participated in gymnastics, was part of the Stardust Parade that Lloyd Stackhouse ran every year, showing off the talents of all the kids who were in the programs, different programs. And Lloyd Stackhouse, without a doubt, has had the biggest influence on my life of basketball, as he did with so many others in our community. We've got some really good athletes and some really strong basketball players because of Lloyd Stackhouse. We started basketball with Lloyd when we were grade 4 or 5, and we learned from a very good teacher, a very talented individual. By the time we got to high school, we'd had 3 or 4 years of competitive basketball, and our teams were strong. We cleaned house quite often in the high school area. GBSSAs, I think we won GBs four times in my 5 or 6 years at school. Bob Clayton and Max Morton, who are half a year younger than me, played in a different group every other year, but I don't think they lost a game of basketball in regular play in their high school career. We went to OFSA twice as players, and Midland had never had a team go to OFSA before that, and we had two years in a row we got there. Didn't do very well, but we made it to OFSA. Yeah. Kind of a roundabout way. When I finished high school, I was able to go to Teachers College without going to university first, because I was in the last year or two that program existed. So I did my...
You do the 1 year of teachers.
That's correct.
And then you can become a teacher.
That's right. So I did 1 year at Lakeshore out of high school. I did a year of Lakeshore Teachers College, and then came out of there, and I was home. Interesting, you mentioned about hiring and so on. I was home one weekend. I was down on the main street and ran into John McCullough, who was at the furniture store, Thompson's furniture store. And we got chatting. He said, well, so what are you doing, Chess? I said, well, I'm at Teachers College now. Oh, good. What are you going to do after? I said, well, I'll get a job teaching. He said, would you like to come back to Midland? I said, I think so. I'll check it out, but I think so. Why? He said, well, if you're going to come back, I think it'd be wise for you to meet the members of the board before that time comes. I said, okay, that'd be great. Can you give me a list? He said, sure. So he painted the list. He said, and which one of those guys don't you know? I said, I know them all. Really? Yeah, I've encountered them all at some point in my life. And oh, well, when you make a decision, let me know, and then we'll proceed from there. Called him one day, said, I'd like to come back to Midland. Called me the next day, said, you're okay, you're hired. And we showed up, Janice, my present wife, and a few others who had planned to come back to Midland, and we showed up. There was no interview. We walked into the school offices then at Parkview School. Bill Hartman's father was the secretary treasurer of the group. Went into the office and signed the contract and went to the golf course. That was it.
So Frank approved you? John approved you?
I got approved.
And you were done?
I was in the door.
Wow.
Started my career, got 2 years in. And in the meantime, at Teachers College, I played in a men's league in the city, and we started some men's leagues here in Midland, in the Simcoe County group. And through that, in these tournament plays, I would compete against a guy by the name of Garney Henley. You might know that name. Garney is a star football player for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Garney was the basketball coach for the University of Guelph. So he got wind that I might be interested in going back to school. So he kind of, quote, recruited me. So while I was teaching for 2 years, I was being coerced by Garney Henley.
Get that degree.
I left teaching and went back to university to get my degree, but I also had the opportunity to play university basketball and University Guelph, and golf at university. So those were two of the big important facts of my life at that time, because to see if I can compete at that level out of high school. So
and you were obviously successful.
I was successful. I got through, got my degree, played 3 years of varsity sports in 2 sports. And now I come out and I've got a decision to make. Do I want to go back to elementary or do I want to go to secondary? And quite frankly, I chose secondary because I wanted to take my coaching abilities to a higher level with kids of an older group. So I put my foot in the door and got it wet at Midland Secondary School, yes it was by then, and started teaching 6 courses of English in my first year at the high school, and began my coaching career along with Doug Andrews, who had already been there for a year before I joined staff in '73. So I got my foot in the door in the high school and taught 6 courses of English, and that was a challenge for me to teach English. And after a year of that, they asked me to do some math, so I took some math and some English. And then they said, can you take a phys ed course? So I was teaching English and I was teaching math and I was in a phys ed course. And then Bill Barnett came to me. Now, Bill Barnett by then was the head of guidance for the high school. And Bill says, Chess, I'd like you to join me in the guidance department. Would you consider working with me in the guidance? I said, Bill, absolutely. He said, you're gonna have to go to summer school to get the course to get started. I said, that's fine. So off I went to course training in the summer for guidance part 1, and came back, and Tom Borsaw, you might know that name, I'm in Midlander. Tom was the guidance counselor who had taken a leave sabbatical, and I got his job for the year, and then Tom opted not to come back, so I stayed in guidance. So by then I was teaching half-time guidance, half-time math, half-time phys ed, or quarter time of each phys ed, so when I was out of the English altogether. Then after 4 or 5 years, it was full-time counseling, working with Bill Barnett, Jack Elland, and Joyce Roberts at the time.